Hey, welcome to episode 28 of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. I am your host, as always, Managing Director of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, Dan Hugo. Another solo episode today. The weather is a little weird. It's Friday, September 1st. Let's see what happens. Today we are talking about challengers, not challenges, although we're talking about those too, but the focus will be challengers, and I will tell you why. But first, hackathons. We already have them. We've been having hackathons every month since about March 2022. As it stands now, as of, I think it was June 2023, there were maybe one person showed up, barely. Participation is at 0. There's very little interest in civic volunteerism. Luckily, if there is a silver lining to that cloud, this is not unique to the Southern Nevada area, although I think it's worse here than in other places, but we get 0 turnout, not 2 or 3, but 0. So it's a challenge. Our projects to date have been civic volunteer projects, as I said, and they are ongoing. That means there's not like an end. There are several projects that are aimed at smart city, making our smart city smarter. So they are not all tech-centric. Every project has aspects of it that are not code. In fact, most things in the world are not only code. When you get right down to it, whenever people have to interact with them, there are user interface components, there's language translation, there's documentation, there's testing, there's marketing, there's all sorts of things. And I occasionally need to remind people that the Innovate for Vegas Foundation is, in fact, a company, a nonprofit company, but a real company. We're not a software company, though. That's the thing that sometimes throws people. So we're quite literally in it for the good of the people working on the projects and the people for whom those projects are built. Nonprofit. So ongoing projects have no, we're not going to finish on the weekend. So not traditional hackathons in that respect, because hackathons are usually, well, I say usually, but the notion that people typically have about a hackathon is that you go on Friday, you're done on Sunday, or similar. Ours are more, they were designed to be geared more towards project ideation, to spec projects, kind of do the agile collaboration on speccing and assigning, work, who wants to work on what, tuning up user stories, adding new user stories. That hasn't really gone according to plan, so that's why we are reaching out beyond Southern Nevada to collaborate with others. As I sort of hinted at, there are other places where 2 or 3 people will show up. And so rather than being an insular community ourselves on the world stage, we can invite others who have similar projects or who have projects that they need collaboration on to collaborate on our projects. So the Innovate for Vegas Foundation is branching out to try to cast a wider net, I suppose, and get participation and again, not be insular. So you need not innovate in Vegas to innovate for Vegas. And we do have 40 million tourists and visitors in general. I don't want to say tourists. That's one group of visitors could be called a tourist, but we have convention visitors, we have people here for sporting events and so on. So it could be anything. So there's a lot of people that visit the greater Vegas area, probably the Strip, but greater Vegas, Clark County. And if we can engage people with civic volunteer projects, news, open transit, news is the My Muni project, open transit, the vLocal project, if that actually can get some traction, and projects from other places that we can integrate into the Vegas visitor experience. When people visit Vegas, they experience open source civic volunteer efforts. And then when they go home, they say, man, that Vegas was a smart city. I wonder, and then they can look and see who worked on what. Maybe there's some features in their own cities that they could tell their friends about and so on. So anyway, it's a blue sky effort, but either way, without the participation that we were hoping for in the Vegas area at this time, although stay tuned, we're taking that approach. So now what do we do with all these Well, the fun fact is there are people here in the greater Vegas area who are interested in innovation, we'll say. Maybe not hackathons, maybe not civic volunteer projects, but they are at least interested in innovation of some sort. They feel inventive, they feel creative. Stop thinking about just code. It could be anything. It could be graphic arts. It could be, creating infographics and illustrations and animations and video content, audio content like this. The list goes on. So not everything is just writing a mobile app. Just mobile app has become such an overused term. It's like we snap our fingers. Let's just build an app. No code. Anyway, so we might even have hardware developers out there who would like to build an Arduino project or a Raspberry Pi project or a RISC-V, perhaps, something around RISC-V. So there are many possibilities that people could pursue if given the chance. So here's the funny part. There already is at least one chance going on right now as I record this on September 1st, 2023, the NASA Space Apps Challenge. So we are facilitating that event. It's the largest hackathon in the world. I think participation in on all the continents, I think, except for Antarctica. I don't think anyone's doing anything there. But participation around the world, something like 350 countries last year, based on 2022, 30-some thousand participants and so on. So it's a big deal. There's a Las Vegas event. It's virtual. So we'll see how many people actually participate, submit projects. But here's the rub. It's a one-shot, hackathon. It's October 7th and 8th. So it starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday. It ends at 11:59 on Sunday, 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. Then you're quote-unquote done. There's project judging. There are prizes. That's the secret. It's not a secret, but it's the secret ingredient. Prizes, and then if you win, you advance to the next round, and there's a global judging from NASA. It's a NASA space apps challenge event. So the winners advance to the next rounds, and there's eventually a global winner. The global winner from 2022 was announced in April of 2023, so it takes a while. All kinds of fun things happen. But the take-home is that participation in a challenge includes prizes, will ideally include food and snacks, maybe T-shirts. It depends on sponsorship. We are still a nonprofit, by the way, enabling these sorts of things. So we don't print our own money. We have to ask others to do it for us. But the take-home is that people who are interested in participating in a hackathon or trying out new ideas can be bribed with free food and prizes to participate. And that will be a change of pace if we can actually get some turnout. So we do face a bootstrap problem. This is not an ongoing, we don't have a culture of innovation at scale. So just getting the word out to people who might be interested has been a challenge. It's itself a challenge. So finding people, getting the word to them, getting them to sign up, and then the big test will come October 7th at 9 a.m. to see who actually shows up. We'll see how that goes, but the bootstrapping of that effort will hopefully lead to some recidivism in a good way for other challenges. So, and there are other challenges, by the way, which we'll get to in a second. So there is zero. Let's compare challenges versus civic volunteer projects. So we have zero participation in our civic volunteer projects. Even though we focus on specific challenges, some are high profile. Open transit being my favorite because our transit system in the greater Vegas area needs some help. So it's high profile. They're viable projects. They could each turn into a little startup of their own, probably. And so yeah, they're not just throwaway, time killers. They're actually problem solvers, and they're only the beginning. And project specs being collaborative, future projects are the result of effort by civic volunteers to solve real problems. It sounds great. So how do we bring the nascent innovators into the field to work on such things? The motivation for civic volunteer projects comes from within. So the prize is what we make, not necessarily what you are awarded based on judging. So if there is a whetted appetite for innovation, we are hoping, that there will be an interest in volunteering for ongoing community projects. So if you attend the Space Apps Challenge, for 2023. It's a hybrid event, so you don't have to attend in person, but if you participate, hopefully you will have that famous realization, I didn't know I could do this. And then you'll want to do it again. That would be wonderful. So ideally, if you do participate in that, perhaps you'll want to participate in another challenge. Well, as it turns out, there is another challenge going on right now. It is the Congressional Apps Challenge. Sign-ups are open. The requirement there is it's a high school student, I believe, or student in school. The school has to be located in a congressional district of a seated congressperson who is sponsoring, I guess is the word, the Apps Challenge. So in Nevada, everybody, I believe all of our representatives are sponsoring. So essentially any student in Nevada is eligible to sign up and participate. Then the question is, how do you connect the people who might want to do that with the fact that they could do that? And so same problem, same challenge is getting the word out, getting participation enabled by connecting the people who are thinking about it to the sign up portal, helping them assemble the team. I think they can have like 4 people or something like that. I'm not looking at the page right now, but I could. There is a webpage for the Congressional Apps Challenge. I believe it's congressionalappschallenge.us. In fact, Congressional App Challenge, Space Apps Challenge, Congressional App Challenge. Keep that in mind. So there are other challenges as well. There is the Congressional Art Competition, which is already finished for 2023. Similar sort of one-to-one association between where you are to compete and whether your congressperson is sponsoring. They announce the winners on their per congressperson on their website. So you often have to know about the event to find out about it, and then you receive your sort of celebration, your 15 minutes of fame in that context. But that doesn't always translate to local coverage. Doesn't always. It's not always easily found by local media, by news reporters, journalists, a community of people who believe they are energizing the startup scene. That doesn't celebrate youth effort in a sort of I will call it a first class way. That's a coding thing, right? Like everything should be, whether you're a high school student or a younger student even, participating in a Congressional App Challenge or launching a startup, there should be a degree of celebration equivalent. Like everybody should be lauded for putting that effort in a still young entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem such as ours here in Greater Vegas. So that's the theory. So civic volunteer projects are longer running, and they require a certain degree of commitment. They're collaborative. So commitment means that the stuff you're working on that I need you to finish still depends on you. So if you decide you just don't want to show up anymore, that impacts others. And that is not a good job skill. So the civic volunteer projects are kind of built in our development of job skills, collaboration skills, and a sense of contributing to the community, which is nice. Challenges are more individual and team focused, one and done, one shot, however you want to look at it. You look at the rules, you choose a challenge if there are multiple choices, as there are in the Space Apps Challenge, and then you perform a bit of magic, create your project, whether it's at a hackathon at a fixed weekend time, as is the case with Space Apps Challenge, or perhaps you spend some amount of time between signing up and the end date to submit your project submission. To submit your project submission. That's anyway. So the Congressional App Challenge, I believe that's how that works. So the problem is, how do we connect our local innovators with these projects? So Innovate for Vegas is launching sort of you could call it a sister website. I mean, it's another portal. Websites are, they're a dime a dozen nowadays, really, when you think about it. But a portal, a platform, a tool to help coordinate people who want to participate in challenges with information about the challenges. And then at the end of the challenge, making sure that people that participated and who possibly won some accolade are recognized and can be found. And so you might point to this portal that we're launching in local media or even social media or at gatherings and meetups. And you can literally say, oh, here is a page, a single page that's easy to find that lists the winners and the participants and the supporters and the sponsors and collaborators for the 2023 Space Apps Challenge. Done. It will not be a Instagram photo that streams into infinity. It will not be a tweet or an X or whatever. It will be an actual locatable, linkable, shareable destination where we can recognize people who are actually participating, who are challengers. So that's why challengers. Challengers will focus on people who take on challenges. And I've already listed a couple. Congress has the 2 apps and art, and kudos to them for splitting that up. Although I would suggest that the app challenge has some art. The art challenge doesn't have app. Like art challenge is literally photography and similar, paint, whatever. I'm not an artist, so I don't mean to be dismissive. I'm just admitting the fact. But those 2 challenges, art competition is a challenge, right? Not the same name. And the Space Apps Challenge are just 3. There are several. So now if someone is a teacher, a student, a sponsor, a mentor, a maker, a hacker, if there's a desire to participate in challenges and a desire to put together a team, we can gather people who have participated previously. So kind of sign up so we can reach out to you and keep you informed about upcoming events. The events don't have to be national. These that I've mentioned are global and national, or international and national. So perhaps the state of Nevada will have a challenge, or, fun fact, Clark County has had hackathons for Smart City. This was probably back in 2016, 17, maybe. So there could be a Nevada challenge, it could be a Clark County challenge, or maybe even a City of Las Vegas challenge. Maybe they will begin to look at local innovators instead of outsourcing projects to other places. Open transit. Anyway, these projects that we work on are open source. Innovate for Vegas projects are all open source developments by open source developers. And so this too will be the same. So anyone in a locality who wants to do something similar is free to do so. Take what we are writing, maybe join in, add some code, add some graphics, add some user interface experience, add some media tools. We should be able to promote things and share information via various media. It should be not just writing words. It should be video. It should be, so linking to video hosting services like YouTube, podcasts like this should all be sort of connected together as needed so that there's a participant and collaborator experience, and the information is just generally available so that people know where to look. Discovery is always a problem in the greater Vegas area. This addresses one facet of that gem. So there you go. Let me make sure my list of things, a collaborator. Yeah, the mention of the sponsors I'm hoping will encourage. Greater Vegas has a slight issue with supporting misunderstood things. If we were a Little League team or maybe selling cookies, there's more of an interest. But when you say things like, hey, we're having a global hackathon for NASA, you don't get calls back. And that's a challenge. So hopefully we'll raise awareness in general, not only for the participants, but for the infrastructure and support that are needed to really make these things go, whether it's judges, whether it's calls for hosts, venues, or resources that can be used in the event itself, or collaboration with partners and sponsors to enable those things, and the little things like t-shirts and individual prizes for local events, just the general, making things work. And if this is going to be an innovation hub, which some believe, I believe I've expressed my desire to use the term innovation destination more so, but local innovators are still local. And they should be enabled whenever possible. The children are our future. Don't forget that. So that's where I'll leave it. The portal, if all goes well, will launch on an initial version, 0.9 or something, on September 4. And we can start integrating the participants in the International Space App Challenge, and then we'll kick off the Congressional App Challenge connection. The fun fact there, the signups for the Congressional App Challenge are already moving, and the cutoff date is November 1st, I believe. So, this is a moving train. We're jumping on the Space Apps Challenge for NASA. The hackathon itself is October 7th, as I mentioned. So that's coming up in slightly more than a month as I record this. Time is ticking. Not so fast as it will be during the hackathon, which is 38 hours and 59 minutes. Pencils up to pencils down. But just knowing is half the battle. And in the greater Vegas area, that is always a challenge. So we're going to try to not only tackle awareness and discovery, but also celebration and recognition of people who do take the time to try something new, to try to reach beyond their grasp, and see what happens. And like I said, ideally, the people that are able to participate in these things will get a little appetite wet for civic volunteer projects and to continue working on open source collaborations, and we'll see what happens. Either way, it'll be a 501c3 fiscally sponsored sort of side project, or however you want to look at it. It will not be exclusively for Innovate for Vegas. We're facilitating and we're developing the platform, and we'll be the fiscal sponsor. But anyone who has a challenge, hopefully, will be able to use it to promote not only their challenge, but the people who participate in it. And that is where I will leave today's episode. Thank you for listening. As always, if you want to be a guest at some point and talk about innovation in the greater Vegas area or beyond, if you're participating in the Space Apps Challenge, for example, and you want to talk about it and you're from another locality, I don't want to say city, it could be anywhere. Any planet even. Area 51, talking to you. And anyone's welcome to come on. And thank you for sharing this podcast with others if you want. And that's it. Challengers, we're looking for you. Hopefully you're looking for challenges to take on and win prizes and so on, and then we'll see what happens. All right. Thank you for listening as always. Cheers.